Let's bring in our political panel. Fabian Núñez is a steering committee member for the Save America movement, former Speaker of the Assembly here in California, and Matt Klink, Republican strategist and owner and president of Klink Campaigns Incorporated. Gentlemen, welcome back. Good to see both of you.
Good to see you,
Matt, as the Republican here, let's start with you. Are you hiring psychiatrists to try to figure out voters? What do you make of that?
Look, after this last week and everything that's gone on, I feel like I needed some time with one myself. But,
yeah.
No, I mean, look, the president's right in the sense that the party in power typically loses seats in the midterm. 22 would be about the average. But because of the headwinds that Trump faces, he faced them prior to Iran, but with the economy primarily. But with Iran, it could be a wave election, like when Obama in 2010, when he lost, 65 seats. That's what it's looking like. The Senate is now potentially in play, and Donald Trump needs to get out there. I know Fabian says, great, get him out there. Donald Trump has to believe that he's the best messenger for himself.
So you're saying, as a Republican strategist who does this for a living and looks at this data every day, that you're worried about a loss of 65 seats in the House?
No, I said that it could be a wave election. It was always going to be a good election for Democrats. It's a question if it's a good election or if all of the swing states move to the left. And that's what is still being settled right now. But it's not a very favorable time to be a Republican running for office.
We had Mike Murphy, former Republican strategist, on here recently who said the smartest thing Democrats could do right now is get out of the way. Do you agree with that?
I think that's probably the best thing that we could do. Having President Donald Trump campaign in the midterms is the best message we can have as Democrats. Why? Because when he ran for president, he said a couple of things. He was going to put America first. Well, he's not doing that. He's starting wars around the world. He said that he was going to tackle the inflation issue. Inflation is now up to 3.2%. He said he was going to reduce gas prices. Gas prices on the average are close to $4 a gallon around the country. And so where the economy is concerned, the president has failed. But if you look at the corruption, the grift, and all of the various things that he's doing to take America's superpower and reduce us to the level that he has, obviously, reputationally, even with the MAGA base, I think the president has failed his own supporters, his own constituents.
You're shaking your head.
Donald Trump has a MAGA base rating of about 90%. He's got about an 85% rating amongst Republicans. That's not a concern for Donald Trump. What does concern Donald Trump are the independents that were so appalled by Biden and Harris that they moved toward Trump and J.D. Vance in 2024. And there has been an erosion across single white men, Latino men, African-American men, and it's all because primarily from an economic standpoint, things are not where they need to be. I will point out gas is lower, still lower now than it was when Biden is president, and in California, we would love $4 gas.
Yes,
we haven't seen $4 gas in 5 years.
Yeah.
But it's all about affordability in the economy, and Donald Trump's not delivering.
But Trump is also in his own base. If you look at white women, he's losing women in his base. Now, he still has the Republican Party, but it's starting to disintegrate. And when you look at these races, the candidates that are going to have his support, for the most part, and he's campaigning for them, he's campaigning in swing states where these seats are, and it's possible between 30 and 45 seats the Democrats will pick up in the House of Representatives, and it's now we can see a roadmap to getting us the Senate as well. So clearly, the president, he can't message his way out of this. The problems that he has created for this country are real problems. There's no way to talk your way out of this.
How do you message what's going on with Iran right now? Because it's interesting, Matt, to hear the president trying to maybe simplify this message, which is what he's always done, a simple message of good and bad, we win, we get everything we want. And yet you see Iran saying, not so fast, that's not what happened. We saw yesterday he put out a message that the leaders of Israel and Lebanon were going to talk to each other, and then they didn't. Some of the facts are sometimes different.
Well, and look, he's trying to be definitive in a part of the world that, literally is based on sand. It shifts beneath your feet depending upon which way the wind blows. Iran, by the way, didn't even agree on what they were agreeing to today, because the foreign minister said one thing, and the speaker of their parliament said the other. And look, we do know the economic blockade is working. The economic blockade is now being sent to every single Iranian ship around the world. Give it 3 or 4 more days, and if their oil industry starts going dry, it's ruined for years, because you can't stop that stuff. You have to keep the pumping going, but it's not going to end quickly.
Sorry, the fundamental question with this war is, why are we in Iran at the moment? If you ask the past 4 prime ministers, or I should say secretaries of state of the U.S., they will all tell you that Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis have always tried to force us into a war with Iran because of their geopolitical situation. And they wanted the security, so they want us in Iran. It is not in our nation's best interest to be in a war with Iran. And the fact that we're there, the fact that we did this, we're really taking Benjamin Netanyahu's lead, and the way that we're blowing people up. I mean, blowing up a school with children, and
the U.S. military is the most accurate military in the world,
and violating the Geneva Convention, which we basically played a leadership role in establishing rules of engagement. We're violating every one of those rules. And I think people are seeing through this and are saying, wait a minute, America first. America must come first.
Well, I mean, polling suggests that this war is very unpopular.
Every single Secretary of State, even including Barack Obama, they've all said Iran is an existential threat. They cannot have nuclear weapons. The only one who was doing something about it is Donald Trump.
But that's not true.
What, the JCPOA?
President Obama did something
that
about
allowed
it.
no military inspections. That allowed
it had independent inspectors to inspect,
but no military inspections, no terrorism, no missiles,
independent
nothing.
independent inspections, and President Trump just pulled the rug from under it and didn't replace it with anything.
Okay,
we can't replace that with a
war.
I don't think we're going to agree on this one, but we do want to get a note in, because it was 1 week ago tonight when Eric Swalwell, the story came out about him on CNN, and then in the course of just a couple days, he leaves the governor's race, resigns from Congress. What an extraordinary thing. It has now sort of upended the governor's race in the biggest state in the country, a state that you both work very closely as consultants on. Matt, you've got an op-ed that just came out across the state today saying what happens now and looking at who benefits from Eric Swalwell being out. What is the conclusion?
Yeah, right now it's Javier Becerra. He's
former HHS
secretary, former member of Congress, former attorney general. I think he's got the experience and the temperament to make a difference right now, but he's got to capitalize on it. And then the San Jose mayor, it's like
Matt Mahan.
Yeah, Matt Mahan. Everybody is saying how great he is and all the great things he's going to do. Nobody knows who this guy is. And that's the biggest problem that he faces.
But he raised a lot of money this week,
yes.
And he's got TV ads now running, and Javier Becerra does as well. How do you see it as the Democratic strategist?
I just think that very few people are still paying attention to this race, and I know it's around the corner, but we need voters in California to really focus, to look at the candidates, to vet the candidates, to see the level of experience that they all have. And by the way, these candidates, when they go into debate, they got to check themselves a little bit. This has to be a more spirited race. Why? Because whoever we elect, the Democrats, there will be a Democrat in the runoff. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, there may be the 2 Republicans may make it to the runoff. It's mathematically impossible for that to happen in a state like California.
Not impossible,
Democrats,
improbable.
Well, very improbable. Very improbable,
Yeah.
but in my view, it's not. There's no way that that's going to happen. And I think what we need to see is we need to make sure that people have an opportunity to vet the candidates. I think it's too early to determine whether it's Javier Becerra or whoever else.
I agree.
But one thing we know for sure is that on the Republican side, there will be a Republican in the runoff. The question is, as Democrats, who is our most experienced? Who is the person that we should send? Obviously, I think it's Antonio Villaraigosa,
right.
But so far, he hasn't been able to punch through the clutter. But I think we have a lot of qualified people running for governor in this race, and we want to see them debate.
And Fabian and I agree on this. Get them off the soundbite and get them engaging with each other to talk about the problems and the solutions that the voters deserve to hear.
And And I always like a shameless plug. So that's why we are doing a debate here on
applaud you for
CNN
that.
on May 5th, where we're going to be doing just that. Caitlin Collins and I
Make
will
sure there's some
monitor that.
boxing, huh?
Yeah,
make sure there's a
that'll
little
be
give
fun.
and take, some boxing.
And you
We need
mentioned
that in this
another
debate.
shameless plug. You mentioned Javier Becerra. He's going to be joining us live in our next hour here on
wonderful.
The Story Is. Enough of my promos. Thank you both. Great to see you. We appreciate
great
it.
to
Now
see
we'll
you.
do another promo for what's coming up next here.